We're all new. I think so.
Oh, of course, Jonathan. And I'm really lucky right now. I'm on maternity leave. So my time is yours and I'm really happy to be joining you guys.
Well, we definitely appreciate it. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Okay, so what you guys are here for is for me to talk a little bit about auction properties. So I'll just say, even as you're getting started in real estate, it doesn't have to be like, that you're an established real estate investor. I think it's really helpful to have like different sources for your deals, right? So I think typically over time, people do develop different, sources for their deal pipeline, whether it's wholesalers, agents, pocket listings, off-market deals, whatever. Like, I think that does happen over time, but there's no rule to say you couldn't have a larger deal pipeline from the beginning, right? So I think the first auction property we bought was our property number 4. And then I think again at number 6. But so I'd love to tell you guys about auction properties, have it in your tool belt, consider it. The more you get comfortable with it, the odds are in your favor to have an increased deal pipeline. So and the same goes for like funding and everything else, right? So like having different funding streams, a larger deal pipeline, like for funding as time has gone on, we've used different funding. Like we've of course had our own conventional down payments where we put the 20% down, right? That's how we started. Then I think I was talking about this before, was we use the home equity line of credit to your question. Now we've used hard money, private money, owner financing. We've taken properties subject to the existing mortgage where the owner has their own loan and we kept it in their name. I mean, we've done all sorts of stuff. So that being said, having this in your tool belt, like understanding auctions and how to buy auctions is you're increasing your deal pipeline. So really, really helpful. So
oh, hey Elyse.
Yeah.
Real quick, are the states you deal with, are they tax lien or tax deed states? And maybe you could tell or explain the difference between the two.
We've bought properties in Tennessee and I believe it's a deed state. That's where the 2 auction properties that where we've purchased. And I'll take you on the website. I'll go to auction.com, which is where we've purchased our latest auction properties. And I'm going to show you a little bit. I'm going to navigate that website with you and I'm going to show you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. I'll say this too. The last thing I'll say about deals before I jump in the mix is deals are found in 3 ways, right? Distressed seller. So the seller is distressed, you get a good deal. Distressed property, like it needs rehab or whatever. And then the last thing is distressed market, right? So those are the 3 ways. So typically these auctions that you're seeing is kind of like a combination. Well, it's more like a distressed property, but it could be a distressed seller. So what we buy, my husband and I, we typically buy the REO bank-owned properties because we can bid online. So there's a difference. Let me go into that. Let's start that. Okay, so 2 types of properties. There's the foreclosures. You typically bid on those live in person, which we don't do. I mean, I've already told you guys, we invest from out of state, right? So we're not flying out to go on the courthouse steps or in some room in Tennessee. We're in California and that's just not worth our time. So we typically do the online auctions, and online auctions are typically REO, real estate owned, the bank owns it outright. And then the other reason that we like that is usually they're vacant, right? There's no issues. You're not having to evict any occupants, which right now is a big deal because of COVID. And I'm sure you guys know that. So we like online, vacant, and we like interior access. So for us, we really like to have our numbers tight before we come up with our MAO, our max allowable offer, right? So we like interior access, so that way our agent can go walk the property. She can give us, after repair value, current rental rates, because we are buy and hold investors. We're really not flippers. we just do the BRRRR strategies. So we want to know when we go to refinance, what's the bank going to think that it's worth? Current rental rates, and then also we have our contractor walk the property for us too, right? So so we like vacant with interior access. That being said, this is kind of like a tip or hint. I do know several people that have purchased auction properties recently. So if you are close to your properties, you are very lucky, because she has, and she told me this recently, that she saw that they literally said occupied, but she went by the property and they were not occupied. So like if you have people like me that are filtering out only vacant properties is what I want to see, right? You kind of have a buyer's edge if you're near the property and can be like, no, it's actually, no, it is vacant, even though it says occupied. I don't have that in my drip, right? Like I'm now not even looking at that property. So you are very blessed if you have it in your backyard. I will say that. So that being said, those are the three things that we look for. We really haven't experienced the distressed market except for our, we bought our primary residence at the tail end of a distressed market. But anyway, any questions on that so far? I don't have the chat open because I have my notes. So you guys need to unmute yourselves if you want to ask. Sorry, I'm not able to see the chat because I'm trying to like follow along. So no
what part of
questions.
California do you live?
Oh, I live in Laverne. It's a little suburb in LA County, in the
Okay.
San Gabriel Valley. I don't know if you know what it is.
I don't. I'm in Northern California. I live in kind of an hour and a half away from Sacramento.
Okay, okay. Yeah, we're opposite. I'm in Southern
Yeah.
California. Northern California has seen a lot of appreciation outside of like the Sacramento area.
Has Sacramento and Stockton.
Yes.
It's on fire right now.
It's wild. It's wild. And I think like just even anything like outside of that San Francisco area, it's all like bled over to the Sacramento market.
Yeah, they're migrating from
Yep.
the Bay Area, San Francisco, because it's ridiculous in San Francisco, and coming down to the Central Valley because it's a lot cheaper, and just taking over, and they have all cash.
And even worse, I think, because of COVID, with all the companies that are allowing telework, I think there was a migration outward from that the Bay Area to Sacramento, and they're just teleworking and getting those San Francisco wages, and then buying in Sacramento. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, cool.
I think that's happening a lot throughout the whole US, and I'm in Tacoma, Washington, so that exodus has definitely affected the whole, we're getting it from Seattle and from California.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm one of those California investors. I think like people ever like Texas, everywhere is like California investor just taking their money in, but
it's not a bad thing though. It's not bad if you're the California investor.
I'm like, it's done well for us, and I'm sorry. And we do plan to move outside of California one day. We won't always be the California investor. We plan to move to Tennessee in 2022. So I'm like, 2023, January 2023. So
I do have a quick question. So I hopped on a little late, so forgive me. I'm sure you already answered this, Elyse, but how did you find the MOA properties? Is there one website, or do you just use the county website?
So I just typically use Xome.com, XOME, or auction.com. And my preference is auction.com. I think if I have time, I'll take you guys to the website and sort of just navigate through with you to make you comfortable with the website. But there are several reasons I like auction.com. They have a lot of different features that are unique and I'm like not getting paid to say this, right? I'm just telling you why. I'll show you why I prefer it.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I actually started to hop on there yesterday, not realizing it was a paid site. But they do offer 7 days free. So
auction.com, it's free.
Oh, it is?
Oh. Yes. You can create a profile. Free? Yeah.
Well, I went on through our VP website. I hopped on through VP and it said, fill out your info and give your card, and it would be 7 days free. So I'll double check that.
Unless something's changed. I mean, it has been a little while since we've purchased an auction property, but I just logged in yesterday and today to double check if things have changed, and it didn't. Like, I don't pay a thing for sure,
Oh,
because they
okay.
make their money on the purchase. They get money from like the banks that own the property and all of that. So yeah,
Oh,
unless
okay.
something's changed, I know it should be free.
It's good to know. I'll check it out. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so, all right, so I touched on this, right? There's two types of auctions, basically in person, online. I really can only speak to my experience, my husband and I, which is online. And now it's kind of interesting. Auction.com has remote bid available, which is, again, like they have several unique features. You can now, like, there was this whole inventory of in person that I could not touch, right? Like those in-person auctions, those properties I couldn't touch, but now they came up with a remote bid. So I can now live bid for the in-person auctions. So like now that's not to my detriment. It is a little bit more difficult because you have to like put the funds in advance, which you don't do for online. But anyways, yeah, we can now bid towards in-person auctions in other places, as long as they have remote bid. It's a remote bid property. Some of them aren't. So yes, generally the in-person ones are the foreclosure, the online ones are the REO. There's also, just speaking about auction properties, there's also like private auctions, right? In your area, not necessarily foreclosures. Those are just like where they didn't want to sell it through an agent or whatever. And then they'll usually sell like all the belongings too. And you can go, they have a whole bunch of people there at the property, and they'll walk you through it and everyone has to give, but that's different. I'm talking about foreclosure auctions and REOs. So, so speaking to our experience, again, online, vacant, interior access, those are the three things that we look for. We filter out the criteria: online, vacant, interior access. And then we do a lot of, the same due diligence you guys would look for on any house, right? So like you're looking at crime statistics of the area, right? So like I like to go to like Trulia and look at the crime maps, the little heat maps, right? Of course, I do the Google Maps and the Street View to see what the area is like. I have my agent go, like I said. I'll look at comparables too. Like I like to go to sold homes on realtor.com. And then of course I have my agent run her own stuff, to make sure we're looking at comparables and really getting that ARV tight. School statistics. So it's up to you. Not everyone gives the same weight to school statistics, but like, greatschools.org, like I do like to see, not like threes. We typically do B class properties. So I like to see 5 and above, for sure. We just have our own indicators, right? And then all the things that you look for in an area, but and in a house. So check all that out. What's that?
Question for you. What's the need to have a realtor? And if you win on auction.com, is there a commission paid to the realtor?
Very good question. So it needs to say broker co-op. And if it says broker co-op, they will pay a commission to your agent. Otherwise, there is no commission paid to your agent. And we have, like, on things where our agent wouldn't have gotten a commission, we'll just give her a little something on the side. Our agent is very important to us. She's our eyes and ears and boots on the ground. And we have an agent and property manager in one. So it's like so helpful. She'll get us the rental rates, don't buy in this area, like all the things that we, like, being far away, need to know. So we have, and she's gotten us some pocket listings, some off market stuff. She helped us get our 2 subject 2s. So anyways, that being said, if there is no commission, we'll still give her a little something. And you guys, of course, can figure out, and you don't have to too, right?
Mhm.
So if you have someone else in the area that again, it's all your comfort level. Like I want a second opinion. I want that subject matter expert for the area. And then I also want the contractor, because my agent property manager can't do that for me. I also want tight rehab numbers too. So like to find that max allowable offer, like I want all my numbers tight so that we could work backwards with the BRRRR strategy and get at a 75% to ARV, right? Purchase price plus rehab at 75% all in. And then we can't bid over that unless we are comfortable leaving some money in the property. We might go to like 80% instead of 75. So it's up
Okay,
to you.
thanks.
That was a long-winded answer. It's up to you.
Alyssa,
Okay. Yeah.
sorry, one more question. Are you doing all cash on auction.com?
So we're using our home equity line of credit money. Another, again, as I speak to like unique options, auction.com, and typically auctions are all cash. But on auction.com, they recently came up with, you can do a filter for financing available. So some of them now do allow for financing. So like, that's something that's never been, like, they're just coming up with all sorts of stuff. And maybe that's for properties that went through and didn't get sold. I'm not exactly sure, but that's never been a thing. And now you can filter for that financing is an option.
That's awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hey, Elyse,
Yes.
do you have a particular price point that you guys like to stick to as far as purchase and rehab, or is it just property by property?
So really for us, we like the 1% rule. Like, first of all, we want to be able to we want to be able to refinance all our money out. And then at the end of the day, we want the property to pay for itself. So we wanted to hit that 1% rule. That being said, we typically, it's for our area. Everyone's area is going to be different, but for our area, we don't like to be all in for more than like $100 grand. And that is typically us getting a property under market value and it being a B-class neighborhood. There's different things like, so like for us, like it doesn't pencil out to be an A-class neighborhoods. It just doesn't for us. Like, and I think that's everywhere. And we don't really like C-class. That's just not our cup of tea, you know, because you start to experience like the higher crime rates and, you know, economic, vacancy where they're not paying their rents and stuff like that. So we typically like B class. So just whatever your area is, research. And if you wanted like B class, there's certain things you can find in that area. You'll see like for B class, like it's typically you'll see like 30, like you'll see like 1/3 of the renters, 1/3 renters, and like 2/3 of the houses are owned by owner occupied. You'll see different things to like, you'll understand what's a B class neighborhood versus the A versus the C. And of course it's crime, schools. I don't know that I explained that last point well, but 1/3 is renters and 2/3 is they own the house. So you'll see like 35% renters in that area. And you can look up that data on citydata.com. But anyways, we like B class.
Did you
Did I
guys
answer your
ever
question?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Do y'all use or do you rent out to Section 8 or not, or have y'all considered that?
So only once have we done Section 8. We used to own a duplex in Florida, in Lehigh Acres, which is just outside of Cape Coral, Fort Myers. We did a return on equity play and sold it. But we had on one side of the duplex a Section 8, and she was great. We always got our payments on time, never any issues. Until we went to go sell the property. And then we found out like there was roaches and she was damaging the house and not really letting us know. And, but my experience is limited. We've only had the one Section 8 renter ever. We did get our payments always. But she didn't call anything in, and she had more people living in the house than she was supposed to. And I mean, it was okay. It was an okay experience, but I have limited experience on that one.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
Sure. Some people only do Section 8, and some people really like it and were like testifying to it during this COVID-19, right? While everyone was scared, they were very glad to have Section 8 renters, and they were, posturing all over Instagram about their Section 8 renters. And I was like, dang. But I think most people, we went through unscathed. I think like we all got like 90 to 95% of our rents. So, okay. All right. So let's just go through the process, right? So like get an account on auction.com, zone.com, wherever. Get an account, track auctions in your area. I'm assuming you've already picked out your market area. And so you can just type in like, you know, what area you're searching for. You can set up your drips just like you do on realtor.com or wherever, redfin.com, whatever. You can set up your drips and put like what your, you know, your market area is. James, were you trying to ask a question? It shows you came on and you're off mute.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no worries. Okay, you popped up on my screen, so I didn't know. Okay, so get your account going, and then, you know, do your drips, like set your city, what market area you're looking for. And then if you find one that you're interested in, right? Start your due diligence. Like you're really interested in it. You can save it to your favorites and just watch to see if a date shows up, because some of them like don't have a auction date yet. And then, so just save it. If it does have the auction date and you're ready to go and you're like, I'm definitely going to be bidding on this property. This is where you want to go double check, like if there's liens on the property. So usually they'll post their own document with title information, and any liens on the property, but I always get my own prelim title report in addition. So you'll either contact, depending on like your state, I know states are different, like you'll either contact your title company, which is the way that we do it, or like I think other states do real estate attorneys. But either way, you get your prelim title report, and we're talking like it's usually what, like 75 up to like $200. But for us, it's worth it. And we don't just go bidding on anything. So it's kind of like a cost of the, you know, cost of the game for us. And then get your ARVs, you know, get your ARV, get your rents, get all the info to do your max allowable offer. Again, I think I spoke to this. If it says that there's a broker co-op, then your agent will get a commission. So, you know, you can tell her like, you're going to be getting a commission. Can you go walk this property for me and help me get my numbers? And then you can also get a lot of information. They'll post information. If you scroll down to property information, they'll post like, you know, a report, all the things about the property, like what the ratio is in the area. Like I know auction.com does this, right? Like what the ratio in the area is, renters to owners, comparable sales, price per square foot, like all that good stuff. They do kind of like neatly package up for you in a property information report. So you can just click on that. And even if you're not interested, like in that property, like you could go just like learn, like use this as a learning experience, and just go click around, look at properties in your area, see what they think it's worth. A lot of times it's a little bit inflated, just like when I work with wholesalers or whatever, I'm like, okay, it's not that much money. Like it's a little high, but, you know, do your own due diligence. And then, like I said, if you're really interested, get a prelim title report. We do. Other things like as far as your due diligence, and this again, I do for other properties that I'm interested in, is I'll usually send it to my insurance agent in the area, and I'll find out like what insurance is going to cost me. Again, just kind of figuring out what my cash flow and all of that is. So, you know, they just do that for you, obviously for free. You'll just say, can I get a quote on this property? Make sure it's not a flood zone if your area is known for flood zones, things like that. All of your research you'll want to do just like you would for any other property. Okay, so home condition. So a lot of these are distressed, say distressed properties, as well as again like the distressed seller, like if it was a foreclosure. So you'll want to evaluate the home condition because you are buying these properties as is. Okay, same like if you're buying from a wholesaler, you're buying these properties as is. So it's nice when they're vacant and they allow interior access. Otherwise, you know, you can do a drive-by or have someone do a drive-by for you and evaluate the exterior of the house. Like the big thing, right, is like the roof and like the siding or whatever, like what kind of structure is it? Is it brick, which is fantastic, like, or is it siding that's all falling off or whatever, right? Do you see a air compressor unit, right? Like, so you know it's on central air, or do you see window units hanging out the window? Things like that. You can get a little idea. Most of them will say like, occupied, not allowed to trespass or disturb owner occupants. Again, like I shared earlier, that's not always true. So like, I know this is being recorded, and let me choose my words wisely. Like, somehow double check if it's really occupied. Like I said, like my girlfriend went and just peered through the window and it was totally, and that's just I'm just hypothetically saying, and it was totally empty. So she was able to get a much better idea by looking through the windows, at what condition the interior was in. So
You can do it too as you're like driving by. I've got your back, Elyse.
yeah, I'm like, how do I, what do I?
If you
I know
drive
this.
by it at different times and there's never a car there.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, the door, or you see newspapers are piling up.
Yes, the grass. Well, and I can't even go with the grass
You
thing
can't go with the
anymore because a
grass.
lot of times they have to do that or else they'll get bills from like the city or whatever. So that might not even be an indicator, but like just as a story, hypothetically saying.
Well, I'm super excited. I got logged into auction.com and there's some in-person live auctions coming.
There you go.
Really close to me, and I don't meet the threshold of, I don't have $384,000, but I'm
Yeah.
still going to go
To
those
learn.
auctions
And your
check it
area
out.
seems like it's more expensive than, yeah, because you're in
It is, yeah.
Seattle. You said you're in Seattle, right, Susan?
Yeah, close
Yeah,
to
it's not a
Seattle.
cheap market area,
Right.
but to learn. Yeah.
Yeah, but just to learn, that'll be so cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and you'll have more than me because I've never attended a live in person. So let me know how it goes, Susan. Okay, so you've done your research. Now you've evaluated the home condition, right? Like if it had interior access, you've asked your favorite contractor to go walk the property for you and give you kind of like a scope and a whole, line list of what's needed and how much it's going to cost. So you've evaluated the home condition. You're registered for the auction. When you register for that specific property, right, once they have like a date, first of all, a lot of these dates get postponed and canceled. It just happens. Like, don't be surprised by it. A lot of them do get like postponed. There's different ways that they can submit paperwork, whatever. And then some of them get canceled, which is either the property came up with the money. The owner came up with the money, which is usually not likely. It's usually, and you guys can do this too, that someone went and sought out the owner ahead of the auction. And that is totally a thing. Like, you now know that they're in pre-foreclosure, their property is about to go to auction, and you can go to them and say like, hey, like I can, prevent you from going into foreclosure and possibly, your credit going down 150 points and having this on your record, like, and you can work out a deal, right? So either A, you're buying it direct from them, or B, you're doing a subject to and you pay their arrears, right? So what they owe on the property, which is a whole different, I'm like not going to get into subject to, but we have absolutely done that. We have paid what's been in their arrears and had them quit claim the deed. We had them do a power of attorney over the property where we were now the sole, we were the ones that were the only ones that can make decisions about the property. And we did subject to and all that. So that's a whole different, but anyways, you can approach the owner before it goes to auction. And so if you see an auction get canceled, it's very likely that someone did that and didn't want to, just wanted to work directly with them and figure out a deal, how much they owed, and try to get it cheaper than they would have paid on an auction website. Okay, so you register for the auction. There's usually a refundable deposit. So with auction.com, I think it was $2,500. So how it works is it's a hold on your credit card. And in the amount of $2,500. And then of course, if you win, whatever, like it goes towards the price, of your bid. If you were to back out of everything, whatever, like you might be liable for that $2,500 cancellation fee, quote unquote. It's kind of like an earnest money deposit, if you will, an EMD. I mean, it's not, but they can take it. So if you went through, you're the highest bidder, and then you don't buy the property, they will have a problem with that. So don't be bidding an amount that you can't pay. Yeah, other than that, you're just typing in, like, to register for the auction, you're typing in like your name, your email, your phone number, like the terms, like, are you buying this, like, and you want it under your name? Do you want it under the name of like an LLC? Are you buying this with a partner? They will let you buy it up to, I think, with like 3 partners. So you guys could all split and be untitled together. And then that credit card authorization for like $2,500. And then if you don't buy the property, it's just refunded to you. So, if you're not the winning bidder, or you don't hit the reserve, which I'll talk about the reserve in a second. Oh gosh, it's 1:37. I need to talk faster. Okay. Okay, so you'll want to prepare all your financing, your documentation, right? Like your proof of funds. You want to show that, you'll have to, as soon as you win, you'll have to have your proof of funds available. You want your entity documents if you're going to take it under your LLC name. If you're, like an LLC or a trust or a limited partnership. And then your earnest money is going to be due within a business day. And it's usually like 5% of the winning bid price. So you'll want to have all that. You'll want to frequently check your auction status if it's been postponed or canceled, because that does happen. I'm going to give you some tips that's like not well known. When you're bidding, the increments will change. Okay. So I think I've shared this before with Ashley, but so like when you start bidding, you'll usually be bidding in like $5,000 increments. And when you get closer to the reserve, you'll have lower increments. Like now you're bidding, it makes you bid in like $1,000 increments or $500 increments or whatever. You'll notice that the mandatory increments will get smaller and smaller as you get closer to your reserve. And so, and for those of you that don't know what a reserve is the amount that they're willing to let the property go for. So a lot of times it's undisclosed, which is super annoying because I think a lot of people look at opening bid and think that's like, that doesn't matter. Like if you don't hit the reserve, it doesn't matter what your, it doesn't matter what the opening bid was. Okay. So the reserve is what they're willing to let it go for. So a lot of times it'll say like undisclosed reserve. So what's helpful is, you're getting closer to that reserve as the increments get less and less. So you might be like, oh, $500 increments. You're like, okay, I'm getting really close to the reserve now, or $200 increments. And I think it gets down to like $100 increments. And you're like, the reserve is like right there. So just FYI, if you've done, your max allowable offer and you're on there and you're giving your bids and you're still at like $5,000 or $2,000 increments, you have a little bit of ways to go and it may be out of reach for you. The
What
price that
about,
they want.
does auction.com have a not to exceed? Meaning you can, kind of like eBay, you can put in a number and then if somebody hits that number, it goes up
Oh, I see what you're saying.
$5,000, that kind of thing. So you don't have to kind of watch it.
You know what? I don't remember, Mark. And that's a really good question. I never put in a max like that. I will tell you this though. If the reserve is not met, the computer will bid against you. It's annoying, but I mean, I guess it's no harm, no foul since the reserve's not met. So you will get it, and it doesn't matter if there's literally no one else bidding against you. If you're the only bidder and you haven't hit reserve, the computer will automatically counter bid you and try to get you closer to that reserve price. I don't know if you can put in I don't know.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. Sorry.
Well, that's okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is the reserve price what they're asking? I'm kind of confused about the reserve price.
No. So there's there's 2 things, right? Well, okay. So in so many words, yes, Jonathan. So there's the opening bid, right? And a lot of people get like starry-eyed over the opening bid because it'll say like opening bid $50,000, I don't know, what it depends on your market area, $50,000 opening bid, and people are like, ooh, cool. But if their undisclosed reserve amount is $100,000, doesn't matter that the opening bid was 50K. This reserve amount is what they're finally willing to let the property go for. So that being said, the bank does reserve the right, of course, after, you know, the auction, they could accept a bid, the high bid lower than the reserve, but they typically don't. If it doesn't meet their secret reserve, they'll just list it again the following week. And so like the last auction property that we bought, they relisted it 3 times. 3 times we didn't meet their reserve and we were the highest bidder, and we were kind of like, I wonder if they'll call us and just give it to us, right? Like they know like we're the ones that keep bidding on this property. They did not accept our high bid that was lower than the reserve, because it'll say like, you know, high bid but reserve not met, and it'll continue to tell you that. And we're like, well, maybe the bank will call us and just give it to us, and they didn't. They just relisted it. That being said, when they did relist it each time, like for that specific property, they lowered the reserve a little bit, and we knew that because we kept our same offer, and the increments changed, right? As we got closer to our max offer, the increments were different. So we know that they did lower their reserve amount. And then the cool thing about auction.com too is, again, now one of their filters is that you can literally search for reserves that are disclosed. So if you don't even want to play with that, like it's super annoying to you, like that they don't tell you what they're really willing to let the property go for, you can straight up search for reserve disclosed properties. So you know literally what they're going to let the property go for, and the, you know, you can get it for that price, unless of course someone beats you out on the bid. So that's one of the search functions.
Is
Thanks for that.
estimated credit bid the same as reserve? Sorry, Jonathan.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Something credit? What did you say, Susan?
Elisa, is estimated credit bid the same as reserve? That's what it's saying on my auction.com.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, because it says opening bid, estimated credit bid, or it says EST credit bid, and then
Yes.
resale value.
Yes, I think
Number
so.
in the middle.
I think that's what they're willing to let it go for. So that's cool. And a lot of times it'll say undisclosed, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah,
But I'd
most of
rather
them are
just know.
blank.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd rather
thank you.
know. Like, just tell me, you know? Okay, so that's just a tip that I wanted to tell you about the increments. You'll see that change. And then if you win, like literally within 2 hours, they'll be contacting you. You have to go fill out, you know, information for the contract. You have to, within 1 day, wire the earnest money deposit. Once they give you like the wiring instructions or whatever, how to give the EMD, within 1 day, you have to get that to them. You have to fill out the purchase contract within 1 day. Everything happens really fast. And then you got to be quick with them too, because if you're not like responding to their inquiries within 1 day, like within 1 business day from when they, you know, made an inquiry to you or told you to do something, they reserve the right to like cancel the contract. So that being said, there's different deeds. So like ours is a deed state, like there's different deeds that they give. Like it may be like a quit claim deed or a special warranty deed. You might be able to purchase title insurance, you know, like through escrow or right after closing with them. So look up all that information. You know, title insurance is great if it's allowable on that, and that's what, like $1,000 plus or minus. So there are some costs, right? Like the prelim title report, title insurance, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So, you know, with undiscovered liens. So, that being said, it's 1:45. Gosh, if you go to my Instagram, you can always message me. I can tell you some numbers, but essentially we did 2 burrs through the auction process. Oh, I do want to tell you this too. Right now, everything is complicated because of COVID. Everything is complicated because of COVID. If you are choosing to not buy a vacant property, right, because of COVID, you guys know that there's this federal eviction moratorium that, of course, the states have to abide by with the CARES Act. So that being said, right now there's a stabilization pledge. So like you cannot evict people until, what is it, June 30th, I think is the eviction moratorium right now. And then if the federal government, and you have to sign, like, I agree to this stabilization pledge or whatever they're calling it. I think that's what auction.com calls it. I don't know what other websites call it, but you agree that you cannot evict them until that date. And then if the federal government changes it again, which I don't know if they're talking about that, then that can be extended. So the best thing right now is clearly to buy a vacant property. And I think that trickles over to anyone buying other properties too, unless you have like a significant rent roll with the property manager showing on-time payments. I think people are being very hesitant about inherited tenants unless there's a history documenting that they're making their payments.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah,
I'm free for questions. I don't know if this like runs over. I know I took it like right to the minute. I didn't even get to like everything. I don't know if you go for a little while after. It's totally up to you guys.
Okay, yeah, we'll do a couple questions.
Okay.
If anyone has any.
I have one.
I had a question. All right, you go ahead.
Is there any particular piece of advice or anything that if you could look back to when you started, you wish you could give yourself that would have saved yourself time or made things more efficient or whatnot?
Ooh, okay. So I'm going to ask a clarifying question. Do you just mean for auction properties or do you just mean in general?
I just mean in general, as far as your investing career goes.
Okay. I think it would be establishing roles between my husband and I. So in the beginning, it didn't need to be like, my husband and I both do this. It's not just me. Let's get that straight. In the beginning, we didn't need like as much established roles, but as you like grow, it's very helpful to have established roles. And thank you, God, his role is doing all the boring stuff, like like the bookkeeping, all the lender paperwork, our refis, our LLC operating agreement and keeping that in good standing, like all the boring stuff my husband does. And I do like I'm the one that has found our market areas, and I'll shoot down other market areas when he sees like cheap properties and like war zones, and I'm like, absolutely not. And then like I find our vendors and I manage our projects for all our burrs. Yeah, so I think like just figuring out the roles is a good, and your systems in general. Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And someone else was trying to ask a question at the same time. I think.
Yeah, Jonathan, did you want to take the last question?
Yeah. On the realtor, does the realtor do all the paperwork and everything for you, or do you do that with your title company, or how does that work? Because you said there was fees with the title company, you have them run things, or?
So are you talking about auction properties or just in general?
Auction properties, yeah.
Okay, so auction is all handled through the auction website. So as soon as you win the bid, they will send you, and you have to go like fill out your information, like so that they know what to put on the contract, but they'll have you fill out the purchase and sale agreement. They do everything. And again, if there's no brokers co-op, I'll just throw something towards my agent, but and there's like a dashboard where they'll literally walk you through step by step. Okay, like, fill out these details. And then the next step you'll click on is like sign purchase and sale agreement. And then the next one is like, or like send earnest money deposit here and then upload receipt. Like it literally like walks you through. It's really helpful. There's like a timeline and it shows you even steps that they're completing on their end and in progress, complete, all of that. Yeah.
Cool.
And that being said, your title stuff, if you want to go run your prelim title report, that is separate from them. So you'll go to your title company and you'll pay that separate and do that separate. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Lisa, I just had a quick question. How'd you find your realtor and all your contractors being out of state?
Oh, trial and error
Was it
here.
just trial and error? It wasn't the first one done?
Everyone says referrals, right? Referrals. So originally we were using a real estate network, and I say that loosely. It's like they made money on the back end from having like different networks in different states. And then we actually parted ways with them, and we're looking at Yelp reviews of property management companies. And I knew that I wanted an agent that worked within a property management company. So I was first looking at like property managers. And then you can get like different referrals from them, right? Like you can get their contractors from them, what title companies they use. And so then you can kind of just like branch out and use their referrals. And bigger, I mean, you'll always hear them say this,
Bigger
right? Like
pockets.
looking on bigger pockets and right, like other investors, and like you can go on to like Facebook groups that for investors in that area if you're not already on that. A lot of there's like Facebook groups specific for your real estate investing area. And I found that really helpful because I'll find like wholesalers are on there selling properties. You can straight up ask like, hey, I need a roofer. And like 10 investors will be like, this is the best roofer or whatever. So like join Facebook groups, investment groups for your area if you haven't done that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just to add to that real quick, even like community or neighborhood Facebook groups too, because pretty much every homeowner gets work done at their house at some point. So you can get recommendations from them too.
Totally.
Well, thank you so much, Elyse.
Absolutely. You guys can find me on my Instagram. I think you gave a shout out to it earlier, but it's investing for fine. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Investing
it's in
for
the chat there, but I'll put it in again, but it's also on your name there too on the Zoom. So
because there's so much to discuss. I know I didn't get to it all, but thank you guys for letting me chat your ear off.
yeah, thank you
I've
for joining
already
us.
reached out. Thank you so much. That was
Thank you.
great.
Cool.
Thank you,
Nice
Elyse
to
and
meet you
Ashley.
guys.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.